Thank you, Dr. Swanson. Call me Subunutu. All right, okay, because Kunji is difficult to pronounce, yeah.
Sorry for that.
Right, okay. Now, this morning, we are going to bring to you some experiences from Malaysia. Things like this. Okay. You know, I retired Ministry of Education somewhere June 2019. So a short while after that, we heard of stories about Wuhan. Okay? And as we listened to the stories, it was far away and it went nearer and nearer to our home. And we were watching cases rising in Malaysia. And before we know it, we have to be locked down. Closer, all right. So before we know it, we were on lockdown. Okay. Now I was already retired, but I was re-employed into a university. So I was watching, and education is being in the ministry for 30 years. So my heart is there. So I'm listening and looking at a lot of development. So when there was some lockdown, for a total of 2 weeks, there was total lockdown. Everybody's at home, they'll go out. Okay, everybody's there at home, including schools, including the government sectors, the Ministry of Education. But then we realized that the COVID is not going away. And therefore, a lot of planning needs to be taken into consideration. And I have my friends like Dr. Seo and Helena and etc. They were all frantically trying to put up plan on what to do. Okay. Now, among the things that in Malaysia is very centralized, yeah. So the Ministry of Education have to give a lot of instruction. So therefore, the Ministry of Education come up with what we call as SOP and all, instruction for the school of what to do. Okay? Now, we are quite lucky in the sense that even before COVID, before lockdown, we were already looking at digitalization of education. I was very much involved in it before I retired. Yeah. So we want, number one, we want administratively, the teachers are supposed to mark attendance, put attendance all online. The teachers are supposed to fill in mark all online. So we can say that we already have those infrastructure. Things are in place. Of course, not so perfect because it is also work in progress and there are also hiccups. And one of the biggest hiccups was actually the internet. And the government has we have actually get vendors to provide internet service to the whole country. But we'll still hear of stories where the teachers will be telling us that they all will run to a certain spot in a school because that's where the internet is the strongest. All to mark in attendance, for example. So stories like that are there. And of course, we also talk to the service provider. Why is the bandwidth not enough and this and that, this and that? So I must tell you that at that point, when the lockdown, these things were there, but not perfect. All right. So therefore, when the first thing that comes to the mind, when you cannot go to school, I think all of us, we think of the internet. Okay, so therefore, we have this digital learning community coming up, okay, whereby the schools are told, now you have to get your parents, you have to include your students, you have to somehow connect to them, contact them. All our students will have a Google Classroom email, right? So they all can go into Google Classroom. We already have that. So therefore, teachers start uploading things there. In some schools, they have already do that, all right? That means that they are already doing some kind of hybrid, all right? So therefore, with this digitalization, so the schools go straight into that. The teacher upload material and the students. But you see, just like what we have discussed the students are not used to having how many hours looking at the notebook computer. All right. So these are all the things that we are facing. The students, and one of the main things, in later on, after a few months, we did some studies in the universities, and also because of other involvement, I was involved in some research, including Dr. Florence. So we found that actually the teachers were very stressed out because teacher wants students to pay attention. Just like me, as I'm a teacher, I want my students to pay attention to me. And so the teachers spend a lot of time trying to get students, open your camera, please be there, why are you not there, you know? So the teachers actually were stressed out, not teaching, but managing class, okay? So I think it's all the same, all right? This is why in the hybrid learning research yesterday that was presented, we thought that in future, when we want to talk about a framework for curriculum, it is not only about what to teach, but it's also about this managing, not managing, okay? So we have all this EduWeb TV and all. Now for television, for a long time in Malaysia, we have our TV pendidikan, or we call it educational television. From when I was at radio, like what Amelia, the good old time when we listen to radio, we learn English that way, right? And so we have TV pendidikan. And in Malaysia, the Ministry of Education go into it because we want to share best practices, not because of COVID. So we actually have put lessons line up and put on TV or all those programs, so that if in a school, you can actually get your students to listen to this television. So these are all that was in place. So we thought that things will be easy, but it is not very easy either. You know? Okay, so that is one. But at the same time, the students and the parents were all getting agitated, especially those going for examination, because they say we have learning lost time. How are we going to catch up? We got exam. And so we hear all kind of complaints, all kind of this. So the Ministry of Education, especially the Curriculum Development Division, where Dr. Sue and Halina and all with that, they were asked to do that, align curriculum. Okay? They had to sit down and look through the whole curriculum and see, identify what is basic, what is additional, and what is complement. So basic need to be covered in that sense. All right. But of course, there are lots of argument over there. What do you mean by basic? Is arts education non-basic and blah, blah, blah. All right. And so in a lot of complaints that we heard, they are not doing experiments because you can't do. All right. So there were a lot of issues with this aligned curriculum. And that is also why in the framework that we suggested yesterday, there must be a rethink of that curriculum. Because in most countries, when we do curriculum, it is a set of learning outcomes. But what Comrade has shared is learning outcome, very physical learning outcome. But there are so many things that is so difficult to write it in words to be a specific learning outcome, a behavioral one that you can observe. And so that part has some issues there that we will need to tackle. In fact, after almost 30 years in education, 27 years in Curriculum Development Division, my parting message to my officers were that I think maybe we have to relook at the curriculum. Maybe behavioral design is not the best. All of us adopt behavioral because it's a measurement. But perhaps we have to go for a more humanistic kind of curriculum design. Now, then subsequently, in order to better streamline, so the Ministry of Education come up with this thing called PDPR, Teaching and Learning at Home. I think in the Philippines, you call it homeschooling. Okay. Now for us, we call it PDPR, pengajaran pembelajaran di rumah. Okay. Now, in this one, there are very clear guidelines on what to do, what the parents should do, what the teacher should do, and what the children should do. But being a policymaker myself for so many years, I know too that policy sometimes just on paper. Yeah, sometimes. It is still how you interpret it. It is still a kind of a challenge. But we do need, from the government point of view, we do need to have that guideline. All right. So that is that guideline given out on what to do. And in fact, there are problems. When you do PDPR, there is no internet. I think yesterday in the media or what, they have in their presentation, they talk about in the school, you have internet. At home, you know internet. What to do when you want to do PDPR at home, what to do. So these are issues that arises. And of course, the government started to give through our telecommunication service provider, give up some free, what's that called? The internet card, etc. Especially for the poor family, for them so that they can access. But our biggest issue is also devices. Malaysians are very productive, especially in the rural area. We have got parents. My own family, I have 7 siblings. My husband too. Yeah. Of course, we don't have that many. So you can imagine, I only have 1 device. How am I going to share? So these were problems that come up. Yeah. So next, please. Okay. So somewhere in September, the ministry started to think about, we don't need to give empowerment. Now, for your information, right before I retire, we already have a lot of discussion on empowerment. How should we empower school? We need to empower school, we realize that. But how do we empower school? So this COVID has brought up this, so therefore, the Ministry of Education has this program now called KPM, which is MOE, Perkasa KU. Perkasa KU. Perkasa means empowerment. So we have this empowerment to consolidate and enrich teaching and learning. Okay. Now, the school were given authority. Okay. Now, the problem is this. When you give authority to school, the quality of the school administrator become very important. Yeah. But under this, there are programs such as literacy and numeracy, because we realize that the children are not learning. So the school will share with you afterwards. Yeah. So we have literacy and numeracy modules. We already have those programs for many years under the Malaysia Education Blueprint. But here we make it so that it fits into this lockdown and things like that. Online classroom assessment. We already have a big program on formative school assessment, and so it go online. And the repository platform for material and catch-up plan. All right. So there are many plans. All right. And I would say that Malaysian schools, we are doing all right in certain sense, but the children are very happy to go to school. And I don't know yesterday who shared, the parents are even more happy. Yeah. Okay. So next, please. Okay. All right. So we also realized, people start complaining, I heard of so many cases, secondary school students committing suicide, primary school students committing suicide. More because you have to face the competition at home. Yeah, at home, whatever family problem you will have to manage it. Okay. So we have this physical fitness standard test which has been around. So now we make sure that it is implemented. And we have this called Sekolah Ku Sejahtera, meaning that Sejahtera is well-being. All right. So we have this program on being, where the school and the teachers have to look into this well-being of the students and the teachers. I think at this point, I have given a holistic view. Any questions later can ask. And now I'd like to get Dr. Siu to share with you one case study. Dr. Siu.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Subun. Give us a very comprehensive overview of what has been happening in Malaysia, especially from the perspective of a Ministry of Education. So now I'm going to bring you all to a case study where we have conducted in the private preschool and see how they're doing this online learning or the hybrid learning in their school context. Yeah. So slide please. Okay. Next slide. Okay, in fact, we carry out this case study in order to explore more about how the teachers or how the school implements the online learning during the disruption of COVID-19. So in fact, we distribute a questionnaire, some kind of questionnaire to the school, and it is a case study, and we distribute the questionnaire, and also we did some in-depth interview with the school, and we do some document analyzing, including the video during the teaching and learning during the COVID-19 deadline. So for this case study, actually, we distribute all the questionnaire to the school teachers, parents, as well as the principal. And we also get 5 of the voluntary participants. 2 of them are school principal and 3 of them are school teachers. So we did some kinds of interview where we last for each of the interview session. We take about approximately 40 minutes to talk to them and explore more what they have done in the school. Yeah. So next, I would like to introduce you this school's profile, a little bit about this school profile. Actually, this preschool is a private kindergarten, and where it is located in Penang, Northern Zone of Malaysia. And under this preschool, actually, they have 6 branches or 6 schools across in the national in Malaysia. They have located in Along Star, Bayar Lepas, Butterworth, Nibong Tebau, Georgetown, where they are in the North Zone. But only one is in Johor, is in the Southern Zone of Malaysia. So for your information, this private kindergarten, actually, they have more than 20 years experience in operating a preschool, and they have they are using the national curriculum, so they are following closely the national policy or whatever instruction from the Ministry of Education. So with this kind of ideas, we get them to involve in our case study. So for this case study, actually, this school, they have 295 children currently in their school, and they offer the education from 3 plus to 5 years old. 5 plus years old means 4 to 6 years old children. Okay, so when we throughout the analyzing the documents and also the interviews, we found out that actually this school actually they carry out the hybrid learning solely from 2021 to 2022 till now. But before that, actually, it's not so much on the hybrid learning, but it's on online and on-site and so on. Okay, so I'll bring you through on how to implement this during the COVID-19. So we found that it actually is a good, they have been done a lot of practices, the teaching and learning in the school that we can take it as an example for the school in the Malaysian context. Yeah, next, please. Okay, so after analyzing all the, the responses from the quantitative for the questionnaire as well as the interview data, we come up, can we just move on? So we can see that actually this school, they have gone through, within these 2 years, actually they have been evolved from the phase 1 to the phase 4 according to what they have done. So we can just quickly, so it is an overview. I will bring you all through each of the stage and what they have done in their school then. Okay. So like for example, as Dr. Subun was explaining just now, in the early 2, it's okay, we just go through all. So in the early stage, the first 2 weeks, we have the totally lockdown in Malaysia. But however, in this school, actually they have do some preparation online as well. We have heard many explanation or talks since the first day to the second day. In fact, this school we found that they are doing quite well because within the 2 weeks in the early stage, actually they carry out some kinds of preparation for the teachers as well as for the parents and the children. You see the next slide? You see that. So actually they get ready for the digital, the competency for the teachers by giving them some training, some kind of training online, how to use the Zoom. Our preschool teacher in Malaysia, they are not like, empowered with all the digital competency, but throughout the days, of course, the 2 weeks is not enough, but at least they engage the teachers to learn how to use the Zoom to teach online and some kinds of tips in doing the online teaching. So these actions taken by explaining the explanation from the school principals and the teacher actually is because they want to ensure the learning is going on even though the school is locked down. We could see what they have done with the school teachers, parents and children. We can see they actually within that 2 months lockdown in Malaysia, the teachers, the school admin actually, they carry out the teachers training as a preparation for online learning. So we got the idea, the principal informed us that actually they subscribe the Zoom as a platform because they found that that is the easiest and the simplest platform for them to do the training. So all the teachers were given the ideas and tips how to manage the Zoom and doing the online teachings with the children. Besides, the school also carry out some things like establishing the mutual understanding, doing the online learning with the parents because they are engaging with the very young age children. So they found that it is very important and critical to get the parents involved in the teaching and learning. So they have the mutual learning, the mutual understanding with the parents, where how to go, where to come into the Zoom online learning with their children, and what are those things the parents needs to do. After they have the mutual understanding and engage or equip the parents with all those knowledge, only they come to the children. When they go to the children, they started to get the children the routine and the acting of attending the online lesson. That is what they have done throughout in the early March, in the middle March until the April, instead of giving it straight away. That is the preparation for the teacher, for the teachers, for the parents, and for the children from that school. So this is all the preparation they have done. So next slide. So when we ask when we do the interview, we ask the admins and the teachers, so what kinds of learning mode or teaching mode that they prefer. Actually, the parents, the teachers and the admin, they respond to us actually. They would like to have synchronous learning that is face-to-face online instead of offline. Because if they upload a lot of activities or the learning module for the children, actually is not equipped with the interaction session. And in fact, if the school resume, if the children can go back to school, they prefer the physical classroom. We visited to the kindergarten attached to Hiroshima, the kindergarten, attached kindergarten, during the first day of the conference. We take some time there. And the principal told us that children in Japanese kindergarten, they do not need to, to go through all this lockdown or stay at home. They come to school every day and they enjoy the school life every day, even though during the COVID. So I was actually very surprised as we're like, oh, okay, that's very good. Okay. So when we asked about this, you see, the preschool or the preschool teacher, actually, they prefer the physical face-to-face. If they don't have the choice, they rather choose face-to-face online teaching or learning with the children. So because according to the teacher, the principal says that, he said that because children, they learn, if they learn physically at the school and they're able to explore the environment. Environment is the kinds of medium for the children to learn. If they learn only online at home, they might not that kinds of environment for them to do. And the interaction, the peer interaction is kind of very important. So they also, teachers also inform us that hands-on activity is very important. Okay, next. All right. So in the face actually after the 3 months, they go into the May to the June 2020, and they are looking into the learning content. So during that time, actually they are the teachers actually plan a lot of activity for the children. They convert the teaching lesson plan, during the normal time to the online lesson. But anyway, they found that actually they are facing some hiccups because some of the activities when they convert it into online, it doesn't seem jive to the needs of the children. So we go to the next. Sorry, I go fast, right? So when we talk about this, when we asked the teachers and the principal about that, they told us that actually they do some reorganize of the curriculum. They use the national curriculum. They never change the national curriculum, but they reorganize it in a way that to meet the needs and the current situation, especially during the COVID. They think the social, emotional, and the hygiene and the health of the children is rather important. So they prioritize that kinds of content in their teaching. And the needs of the children, like teacher J.A. was telling us, actually meet the needs of the children is most important because her children is all like 5 to 6 years old. They don't have any sibling at home. They need a lot of peer interaction. Therefore, the online learning is not teacher-directed teaching, but they provide a lot of chances for them to interact. So next. So organized approaches in the learning, a lot of hands-on activities, and the activity must be fun from the teacher's response. Fun means get a lot of hands-on activity and interact activity with the children. So they have a lot of cooking, like preparing meals for the family members, do some exercise at home. Those kind of activities actually is not only like to comprehend the health and the physical things, but also to jive with the standard curriculum of Malaysia, where we are focused on the physical development of the children. Next. Okay, we do maybe later on. You don't have time. So in the phase 3, actually, after a while, after the 6 months of implement the activities in the school, the teachers found that there are still some lacking in the teaching, and they found that the mutual understanding is not enough. They want to engage more parental involvement because parental involvement can enable the learning of the children become more comprehensive because the online time is very limited. It was limited. Last time, previously, they can have 4 hours to 6 hours in the school. They can have a lot of interaction. But during the COVID, they only have like 30 to 1 hours online learning. That is the maximum, it's like 1 hour. So the teacher said, actually, they have very limited time to teach all the content. So they prepare some resources that the children can do with the parents at home. For example, storytelling session, some origami, some arts and crafts video recording that the children can refer to when they have time to do together with the parents. And they have all these resources not only developed by the teacher, actually they engage the parents to do together. So next. So the last one, actually, when we're doing the learning during the uncertainty, at the end of the 2021 and to 2022, actually the school are resumed, means all the children can come back to school physically. But for this group of this kindergarten, they think that sometimes some of the children, they might be, still in quarantine because of the parents being quarantines, and sometimes they might have problems. The whole class, quarantine and all that. So the rotation of the children coming to the school and the hybrid learning is happening during this stage, where some of the children might be learning at home, some of the children might be learning in the classroom. And in fact, they are facing a lot of problems because, like one of the teachers said, they don't have the setting for the proper hybrid learning as our yesterday's speaker told us. Yeah, so we can go to the next. Yeah, so maybe we go to the last few. Okay, so to enable or to equip our parents with all this, actually the school also carry out some activities or some program with the parents. to make them not to feel so stressed. Yeah. So later on, we just go on. Okay. We go to the final conclusion. So actually, from this practice in this school, this case study, actually we learned about all these suggestions. I mean, after looking at all these practices and relate to what have been implemented in Malaysia, we found that actually prioritize the curricular content is rather important. So they are asking from our perspective, what are those contents should be prioritized? So, and the other one is appropriate pedagogies that need to give to our teachers to make sure the quality online learning is happening, and a comprehensive learning system, LMS, is required where they want to engage the parents. The resources need to be there and to inform the parents as well, the parental training. So this is all what we learned from this case study. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.